When new weapons were announced to coming to BattleBit Remastered with the launch of Early Access, one of the first things I wanted to do was give them a test run in the firing range. Unfortunately, using them in a live fire situation is going to be a ways off due to the current progression model of the game, which leads us also to an interesting conversation. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we're taking a look at the 5 new weapons added to BattleBit and having a wider conversation about the game's quote-unquote grind that is present at the moment. So folks, no fluffing around today, we're going to get straight into the firing range and test out the new weapons. We're going to check out the AK-5C first, which is located in the assault rifle category. I actually got this a bit wrong in my last video, so apologies for that everyone, but I must admit I was kinda hoping to see this weapon end up in the carbine category, as that category is sorely lacking some customization options there at the moment. But strangely enough, the Scorpion Evo, aka another weapon that we're going to talk about in today's video, actually got listed as a carbine in the game, and yeah, I'm going to be honest, that looks a bit more like a PDW to me, so I think something a bit funky might be happening with the classifications at the moment, but we'll leave that to the developers to decide. But anyways, moving on to the weapon itself, and I'm afraid that we're probably leading the video with the worst of the new weapons here today. The AK-5C takes the crown for being the slowest firing weapon in the assault rifle category that dishes out 30 damage per shot, being beaten out by the likes of the M4A1 and the G36C. So it's really not winning any trophies in the outright damage department or in the time to kill department, which already starts to make the weapon feel a little bit lacking. Now, thankfully, the weapon's recoil does feel very easily managed, but funnily enough, that doesn't really come down to the weapon's recoil pattern itself. The weapon actually sports a worse horizontal kick than most other assault rifles in the category. It actually is more thanks to the slower rate of fire, which ergo limits how often the recoil occurs while you're holding down the trigger. So sure, this controllability does bring some points back to the AK-5C, but you can really tell that the only reason the weapon is so accurate is because it takes such a hit to the rate of fire department. But unfortunately, that's not the biggest sin of the AK-5C here, not even close. The AK-5C, despite only having a 30-round magazine with no magazine attachment options available to it at all, comes in with a record-setting, time-stopping, grass-growing, paint-drying 5.1 second reload time. To put that into perspective, there are only 2 weapons in the entire game that beat the AK-5C when it comes to lengthier reload times, and that is the 2 light machine guns in the game. And again, given that you can't mount any magazine attachments on the weapon, this is going to absolutely kill the AK-5C as a pick for anyone when they get around to unlocking it. You can't speed up the reload, you can't add more bullets to the already average 30-round magazine size, nothing. It feels incredibly limited as to what you can do as a result. So unfortunately, I don't see any use in using this weapon. It doesn't feel like it brings anything to the table worth using, so I feel like the AK-5C needs to make a return to the drawing board a bit before people start unlocking it. Now, moving on to the Scorpion Evo carbine, that is, according to the game at least. I bring up this weapon second here because, well, it certainly makes its presence known on the battlefield and breaks just about all of the records that there are to break for separate reasons. And to really paint that picture, I want to show you all a clip of the Scorpion's recoil. Just take a look at this for a moment. And to be clear, that was me not trying to control the recoil at all, just full-blown mag dumping. Now, here's the same situation when I do try to control that recoil. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm the best shooter that's ever played a first-person shooter game, but I like to think that I'm okay at controlling my recoil, yeah? Sweet fucking Jesus, this thing is mental. Y'all ever seen those clips online of those dudes that mount hydraulic pumps to their desks to simulate recoil in the game, whether it be punching them or their desk? That's how I feel when firing this thing when I pick it up. I was running out of mousepad space when attempting to control that recoil. So I think it's pretty bloody clear that if you aren't engaging your enemies at a distance where you could also slap them with a limp fish, then you're gonna be doing it wrong with the Scorpion. However, with this extreme recoil, if you can tame that beast, it comes with the benefit of extreme performance, and I do mean extreme. This is now the fastest firing gun in the game, bar none. The Vector has been dethroned, and to make matters even more interesting, the Scorpion's base damage is 26 per round, which bumps it up up to the 4-shot kill baseline while the Vector sits at 5 shots. This gives the Scorpion a whopping, unparalleled, unchallenged time to kill of 150 milliseconds. That makes this the fastest killing automatic weapon in the game, hands down. Throw in headshots, and that is a 100 millisecond time to kill. Insane stuff. So there's no denying that this thing, if people are even game enough to use it in the first place, is going to be a true face melter in CQC. Due to its rate of fire and recoil though, it's going to be one of those one and done weapons, kill a dude, rinse and repeat. And given BattleBit's chaotic nature and its large player counts, I am sat here wondering whether this weapon will perform in those situations when there's a ton of players running around, or whether the limited uptime will hinder its ability to hold players' attentions. We'll see. Alright, the Ultimax is next up for the day, and this little beauty represents the second light machine gun being added to the game and gives the support class a much needed boost in variety. Great to see. Compared against the previous weapons, the Ultimax actually feels a little, I don't want to say boring or stale, just calm, cool, and collected, and also effective. Makes sense? Cool. Being the only competitor to the M249, we're obviously going to draw a lot of comparisons to the M249 here, and right out of the gate, you can feel the Ultimax is a far less aggressive version when compared to the M249 saw. Sporting a slower rate of fire and lower damage output per shot, it's not going to be pumping as much lead downrange fast and killing people as fast. But what it does feature is a far superior horizontal recoil pattern, and that gives the Ultimax the much needed benefit of stability under long bursts. It also wins out significantly in the reload department as well when compared to the saw, only requiring 5.8 seconds of downtime against the M249's 6.67 seconds. So that too is a very nice and added bonus. There's nothing really here that makes me go, wow, but by the same token, it's a nice addition that will certainly give support players some much needed choice. A very healthy addition to the game for sure. The MG36 is also available to the support class as a light machine gun, competing against the L86A1, and I've gotta say, the MG36 is a weapon that may just twist my arm a little bit and force my medic maining ass to spend some more time on the support class once I unlock it. This absolute cannon is rocking 34 damage per shot, which puts the weapon confidently into the 3-shot kill category. All the while, by the way, sporting a 600 rounds per minute fire rate. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but on a damage model like this, that puts this beast on approximately a 200 millisecond time to kill with body shots. Throw in the fact that in the best case scenario, the weapon will down a target in as little as 3 shots, and you can also take a drum mag to get the weapon up to 60 rounds in a mag with 1 reload. You're dealing with a combo that is going to be extremely deadly on the field with some amazing magazine economy. This could very well be one of the stronger picks in the game right now, should the weapon stay as it is in the firing range right now. The overall handling of the MG36 is pretty attractive as well. We see a pretty intensive vertical recoil, but not much in the way of horizontal recoil, which is definitely a plus for overall controllability. We also have a 4.73 second reload time, which, I mean, again, compared to the likes of the AK-5C, just feels like the efficiency of an F1 pick crew by now, and it feels just incredibly comfy to use. Personally, I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on the MG36 in-game and putting it to work on a live battlefield. And lastly, we put our crosshairs on the RSH-12 sidearm, which is the third heavy pistol that's being added to the game. Bit of a weird addition to the game, this one, as it only sports a 5-round magazine, which against the Unica's 6-round mag may feel a bit limiting. Also, yes, I'm well aware I've probably triggered every single gun nut in the comment section by calling a revolver chamber barrel, a magazine. Deal with it. But the RSH-12 also sports an identical damage model to the Unica, so you may be scratching your head as to wondering what the point is, and, well, I could be wrong on this, but I almost thought as though the RSH-12 might have had a faster rate of fire on the Unica by comparison, even though the stats say otherwise. Hear me out. If memory serves me, the Unica has a pretty solid trigger delay on it, whereas the RSH-12 didn't feel like it did in my testing, but I also could be completely off on that one, and I'm happy to be told otherwise in the comment section down below. Overall, thought it was a pretty competent sidearm, and I'm keen to give it a go as well. So yeah, new weapons are always exciting, folks. Unfortunately, we are going to be awaiting a while until we can actually give them a go in the game and on the actual live servers. And that segues us very nicely into our final little piece in today's video about BattleBit's progression system and the changes the developers have made to the progression system in light of early access. If there are some of you out there who are wondering why it's taking so long to unlock new guns in the game, there's a reason for it. The developers made a change as the game went to early access in an attempt to really elongate the rate in which you unlock stuff throughout the game. The idea of this was to make sure that unlocks were spaced throughout the game's 200 ranks before reaching a prestige, and you could, feel like you were still earning new gear and new stuff to try, even though you were in the higher ranks of the game. Right now, you will unlock a new weapon every 5 ranks, which sounds okay on paper, but unfortunately, I am 12-ish hours into the game at this point, and I have unlocked a grand total of 4 brand new weapons. So in other words, about 1 weapon every 3 hours. And because you unlock weapons globally in this game, and some weapons that you may unlock may go on certain classes only, that does mean that in certain situations you will not get a new weapon for a class that you may want to play a lot of. For example, the AK-15 for the assault rifle category currently unlocks at rank 15, whereas the next assault rifle is unlocked at level 50, that being the Scar H. So it is quite the grind to get new gear, and I can understand the developers' intentions behind doing this and ensuring that their weaponry arsenal remains rewarding for players as they continue to play the game. I totally get that, and long-standing progression when you've got 200 ranks of progression before a prestige mode is hit, that's a solid amount of content to have to make your progression feel worthwhile. However, I'm not entirely sure that this is the right way to go about it, and I do feel as though that this is going to create some perceived imbalance in the overall balance of the game as the sweatier players start to unlock new gear and the more casual players are left in the dust just unlocking absolutely nothing. For example, some of the more, I would say, meta weapons in the game right now, like the Vector, like the FAL, like the M200 sniper rifle, they are all unlocked at super late levels, which means that your absolute gigasweats, like myself, who have got plenty of time to play the game, are going to unlock this gear incredibly quickly, well, relatively at least, and all of the more casual players who have got less time to play are just never going to get their hands on it, at least anytime soon, which means that, again, the more powerful gear is going to be in the hands of very few amounts of players. In addition, the slow unlock rate of new weapons does make the game feel kind of unrewarding to play from a progression standpoint. Now, don't get me wrong, the moment-to-moment gameplay of BattleBit is fantastic, but I'll be honest, using the same couple of weapons every game gets a bit stale at some point, and some more variety in my arsenal right now as I'm playing the game would be nice to have. I know that there are a lot of people out there that value the benefit that comes from slow unlocks and giving players time to master a weapon they've just unlocked, so on and so forth, but I'm also very sympathetic to the idea that, only having 1 or 2 weapons to play with on a certain class before you start unlocking more later down the line is going to feel a little drab. In my opinion, the developers have already got some really good long-term progression outlined in the game in the form of camo grinding. For people who do want to really put in the hard yards and go for a completionist approach with the game, I feel like camo grinding is the way to do it. It's been the way for previous first-person shooter games for generations now, and that's a way to really show off a mastery of the game overall. Whereas right now, that mastery seems to come in the form of unlocking actual weapons to use, which again, I'm not a huge fan of. Now, in saying all of that, I am fully aware that the developers have confirmed that some changes are coming to that progression model, so fingers crossed it's a step in the right direction and, it helps to speed up the process of getting some more variety back into our loadouts. But I figured I would just, state my piece anyway, guys, just to get a form of feedback out to the developers about their way of approaching this situation and how maybe I feel it could be done a little bit better. But of course, that's just my opinion, and I could also be told to go fuck myself just as easily. Overall, BattleBit Remastered has been a ton of fun to play at launch. The progression has really been my only sticking point so far, so as far as game launches go nowadays, that's a winner in my books. But that is going to be everything for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below which of the new weapons you are most looking forward to giving a go, or leave your thoughts on the progression model of the game. Do you think it's too fast, too slow, or do you think it's right about there? Let me know. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to backhand the like button, as it does go a long way to supporting the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing and following our Twitch channel down below as well, guys, because I tell you what, we've got a lot of BattleBit content coming your guys' way really soon. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.